Somebody did ask me, Amanda, how do you deal with the person that gave you life not knowing who you are? That is the worst heartbreak ever. I was this person's whole life once upon a time. And now she's looking at you going, who are you? I was like, that is the worst. But you know what? That's where we've got to hold the moment. We've got to go, okay, you may not know who I am, but I know who you are. And I was like, that's what keeps me going.
The lovely Amanda, thank you so much for coming in. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me today, Jim.
First of all, let's go back to that responsibility of care that you started to do when you were only 17.
That's right.
What happened?
Well, I was 17 years old, as you've mentioned, in my last year of high school, HSC. Very new to Australia as well. My family had just moved here from Fiji Islands, actually. And I wasn't quite sure what it was because Mum just, she kept forgetting things. And it was like everyday little things, like the kettle would boil and it was those old kettles that whistled. And I think, well, why isn't she picking it up? And then she'd come rushing in and yelling, who's left the kettle on? I thought, that was you, right? And then it was, getting late to be picked up from places. And I kept thinking, well, what is this? And we didn't really have a name for it at the time, which made it even harder.
More mysterious.
Absolutely, because then there was no way of being able to talk about it. And being a 17-year-old, taking Mum to the doctors, because she was very stubborn, was like, there's nothing wrong with me. Yeah. And so taking her to the doctors and trying to articulate exactly what was going on, and nobody believed.
God, this would have been a minefield to try and work your way through.
Nobody actually believed that there was something wrong with her. They were like, oh, look, she's 47 years old, perimenopause, it's menopause. And then it was, oh no, it's bipolar. And then it's psychosis. And then she, because of all of those diagnoses, she was medicated. And some of that medication really shuts you down as a person, like the really strong, heavy one.
Yeah.
So she was almost in a zombie comatized form. So I had to then care for her because she couldn't work.
Mind-blowing. I don't even know how you would navigate all of this. So you had sort of incorrect diagnosis, you had confusion and the medication and the signs to look out for.
Yep.
How did you work through it?
I hid it. I was very embarrassed. Friends would drop off, and friends, not just my friends, but Mum's friends as well, because she was a very private person. And our culture, like most ethnic cultures, you don't talk about what happens in the house, things that could potentially bring shame. And mental illness is definitely one of those things that you do not speak about.
Yeah.
So I hid it. Stopped having friends come over. Mum wouldn't answer the phone because having a friend over meant I'd have to mask any of the strange behaviours. Like if she lost her temper because she's forgot something, I'd quickly, try and hide that. So how I handled it was in private.
That would have been hard for you from an anxiety perspective. You must have been, on eggshells, really, a lot of the time.
All the time. And it was extremely isolating. Now, remember, I'm 17. Like, all my friends were getting ready for their HSCs, meeting boys, trying to sneak into clubs.
Yeah.
Didn't get to do a lot of that. Didn't get to do a lot of it. But it was a choice that I had made. And traditionally, it's an honour to care for your parent. And the other thing is we didn't have anybody else. We don't have immediate family in Australia. So it's literally myself and my sister at the time and Mum. That's all we had. And my sister went to university in Armidale, so she wasn't at home. So it was literally myself.
This all fell on your shoulders, literally.
Correct.
That would have been so hard to handle. Also, just leaving her at times when you're trying to do your thing and you've got that responsibility. And you were going through your own struggles at this point, weren't you?
Yes.
And did you sort of put that on the side?
Completely.
What happened?
I got really good at compartmentalizing things and locking it up and kind of, cataloguing it, putting it away and going, I'll come back to that later. And that was me. And a lot of people that have known me have always said, you're such a hard person, Amanda. I'm like, yeah, well, I've got no time. I've got no time to be empathetic or to feel or to even just stop and listen to you, because all of that energy is required here. I've got to stop and navigate what's going on with Mum, because this is my person. Like, this is who brought me here on this earth that, single-handedly raised 3 daughters on her own. And at the age of 28, where she first experienced her own mental illness, divorced at 32, I was 2 years old, travelled from Southern Africa all the way to England, Fiji, and Australia with 3 kids. I was like, that is strength beyond.
That's enough in itself. There's a book right there.
Oh, no, I am writing her memoirs. So, but yes, it was just haven't given me any space to be me.
And did you, when you finally got to a diagnosis
Yep.
and they changed her medication, did you see improvement there?
I thought I'd be relieved when, we had an answer to all the questions
Must
I
have been
had.
a shock.
Dementia wasn't something that I even knew about. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know that it even existed. So hearing somebody, explain to me that, look, she's got Lewy's body's dementia particularly, and I've gone, okay, what is that? And doing my own research on it and being told what the shelf life is of it.
Scary.
Right? I've gone, okay, instead of me feeling like we've got an answer, it drew a line in the sand for me and said, okay, now every day has a life shelf. Like, there is an expiry date to every day. So I'm going to say it got better because it allowed me to stop searching for a solution. I've gone, okay, this is something that is now completely out of my hands. That I've been shown all of the scientific, the medical evidence, the physical evidence that this is definitely what she's got.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let go of trying to find that solution, and I'm going to stop and live in the moment and start living.
What did you do from there? Where did you turn to?
So where I drew my support was firstly my immediate family, for them to understand that, yes, as much as I'm, they see me as a super strong, resilient, independent, a big part of me is breaking. I'm slowly losing myself, and drawing from Mum's experience, going, okay, I can't hold it all in. I've got to start talking to people, is where I sat my husband down and said, okay, I'm disappearing with her memory. And what really scares me is, who am I going to be when she's gone? Because I've spent most of my adult life caring for her. I don't know what that looks like. And joining Dementia Australia and becoming an advocate, like, each region has an advocate group. So we'll catch up for lunch. We've got a WhatsApp group. So those days where you feel like absolute hell, somebody will message. And it's just the constant check-ins. Like, so we don't necessarily have to see each other every day, but somebody will drop a message or something they saw online and, pop it in there. That little community was very helpful.
When I was looking through my research, I noticed that your mum at times went back to her mother tongue.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about that. What happened?
So it's not that she forgot how to speak English. She just preferred to speak in Tonga.
Okay.
Now, I understand it, but I don't speak Tonga, unfortunately.
Interesting.
But I can understand.
That could be very useful.
Oh, it's very, very useful. But with Mum's regression, she would go back in time. So there were times where she thought she was 12.
Oh.
There were times where thought she was at university. And don't get me, I loved the university stories because I got all the juicy, juicy stories. But when I put her in a nursing home, because it got to a point where I had to get care for Mum, whenever I went to visit, I made sure I had photos with me. And that would help me understand where we were on the timeline so that I knew how to converse with her because, again, as mentioned, I'd come up and she'd think she was 12 or 10 and I'm there going, wait, I don't know how to deal.
It's so hard to keep up.
Yeah, I don't know how to deal with where we are. So I'd start the conversation by just flicking through, hey, Mum, I've got a few photos, thank goodness for smartphones right now. Would flick through, and then I did go into the old photo albums as well so she could touch, but would go through different photos and then I'd wait until she recognized one and then I'd go, okay, that's where we are.
That's so insightful. Just the use of the photos is really smart in a way to know where you're at.
To know where, and I used it for me, otherwise I'd turn up and I wouldn't know what to talk about. Okay, I could tell her about my day, but that's not going to mean anything to her and I'm not going to get any response back.
Yeah.
So let me meet her where she is. And that's where the photographs made such a big difference because then I learned a lot about myself. I pulled out photos from when she was at university. I got relatives to send me photos of her and I got all the stories that I never got as a child going, so this is who this person is.
And that's lovely for you to carry on and be able to tell your own family.
Correct. It was a wonderful experience. But look, the regression, it never gets easy. And I'm certain it isn't easy for her too. And somebody did ask me, Amanda, how do you deal with the person that gave you life not knowing who you are? I was like, that is the worst heartbreak ever. It is the worst because I feel...
I think that is the worst part of the entire disease, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the thought
of this person. I was this person's whole life once upon a time. Like, I was the reason they got up. The reason they kept going on the tough days. And now she's looking at you going, who are you? I was like, that is the worst. But you know what? That's where we've got to hold the moment. We've got to go, okay, you may not know who I am, but I know who you are. And I was like, that's what keeps me going.
And I think you couldn't put it better yourself to hold the moment. I mean, that's exactly what this is all about.
Right?
Holding on to those moments.
It is. And they're so important.
If you were to give anybody listening, a lot of our listeners are obviously touched by dementia in some way, and they're feeling isolated, what would be your advice now for them to reach out or lean on someone? What would you recommend?
Look, there is nothing, and I know this now, and I didn't at the time, but there is no shame in what we're going through. There is zero shame. And if I were to go back in time, I would tell my younger self that, listen, what you're experiencing, although it's not in a textbook, it's real, and good for you for standing up and fighting. I wish you had fought earlier at 17 for the help. And asking for help is not a sign of weakness, because a lot of our cultures, if you speak up about something negative, it's a sign of weakness. If you ask for help and say, hey, I don't understand, it's a sign of weakness. No, it is actually strength. And you do it because you love the person and because you love yourself too.
But I think for people to see, with you as the example now, how different you are to the young 17-year-old. What are your views now on dementia compared to when you knew nothing? To all the things you've learned now, how do you look at it differently?
My younger self would not have been able to sit here, having met you today, and had such an open, frank conversation with you, because I'd be like, oh, no. Whatever perception that you're going to walk away with, that is not something that I want to stick on who Mum and I are. We were raised, explained about how the journey from Zambia to Australia and all of those trials and tribulations that she's gone through, she wasn't running away from things. She was running to a better life. And who am I to sit here in a room by myself, wallowing in the situation that we've been dealt with and not living the legacy that she was trying to provide by living? So it's like, open up and, you know what, go out there and smell the flowers.
I love that. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hold the Moment is a podcast from Dementia Australia, produced by Deadset Studios.